Okay, here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Alton. This is Talk at 8, the show where we try and showcase different codes of sport, different personalities, and how sport has changed people's lives. Tonight is absolutely no different. We've got three wonderful gentlemen in studio. We've got a young man called Carlo. We've got an even younger man called Mike, and a dashing man called Russell. As our three guests this evening, and they all have different stories. They all talk about, and they'll tell you their stories in a minute about how sport has changed their lives over time. And we'll start we'll start with the youngest first. Let's go there. Let's go there. Mr. Carlo Scott, good evening. How are you?
All good, Alton. You're putting me on the spot. I thought, the elders would go first, but I don't mind. I don't mind. Just a brief. I don't know if you want me to get into the full-on
Yeah.
story, but brief about me.
Yeah.
So I'm Carlo Scott to everyone that's joining live. I was a professional soccer player for about 13 years of my life. Subsequent to that, I'm working now currently for the city of Cape Town. I've been working with the city for 16 years. And as of last year, I started running. I joined a running club, Edgemead Running Club. And as of, I think, the 8th of June, I completed my first Comrades. So we can talk a bit about basically the football, life as a civil servant, and then me being a runner to actually completing a Comrades within the space of 8 months.
Sure. That's a serious resume there, Carlo. Tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about your journey as a sports as a footballer. How did it all begin? Let's start there.
So, so we're going like really way back now. So, I was into athletics when I was on primary school, and then one of my best mates at the time, his father had a junior team that was really successful within the Mitchells Plain area, Westridge United. From that particular subsequent team, the likes of your Manip Joseph, Breslin Hemper, we had quite a number of football players that progressed and made it with other bigger teams and played professionally with the national team as well. But it was
Yeah.
an amateur side, started out in Westridge, didn't know anything about football, was clearly just a sprinter in my primary school days. But because my friend's father was coaching this team, my friend invited me to come and play. I'll never forget my first soccer game or my first soccer match. Never knew the rules that well. Ended up being blown offside probably like 20 times because I was quite a fast player and
Yeah.
I couldn't really transition being quick and playing the sport of soccer. I was a bit devastated. I ended up not going back. It took me about a year to actually go and watch football and kind of
Mm.
understand the game for me to then go back to the team. And when I went back the following year, everything kind of kicked off and I started playing. I started scoring lots of goals. I started being recognized through the provincial scouts, the national team scouts as well. I ended up getting a professional contract when I was 16 years old for Cape Town Spurs. At the time, I think it was Sergio dos Santos. He was the coach then of Cape Town Spurs. I ended up making my debut when I was 17, scoring my first goal as well. From there, Cape Town Spurs and Seven Stars, we amalgamated and we formed Ajax Cape Town. Um, Played for a couple of seasons there before being identified by Sundowns. Ended up going to Sundowns. Um, Played there for about 5 years. Came on loan to Santos. Played for team for Morocco Swallows as well. Played for Bloemfontein Celtic. Had a couple of national call-ups and apart from that, once that journey kind of ended, I came back to Cape Town. I was playing first division for about a year, and then I decided to get into some serious work. I was fortunate enough to get work at the city. Through the city, I completed my studies. I did my national diploma. I've got my BCom in my BTech in business administration.
Yeah.
I ended up doing also my master's, but I haven't completed. Dissertation is still out there somewhere. And I ended up getting very unfit through the 16 years working for the city of Cape Town. That I was actually last year around about January. I had all these problems with my health. I was hypertension, I had high cholesterol, pre-diabetic, and a change was needed. And then through that, because I had this professional upbringing in terms of sport and what was actually required, I remember since an early age, the junior coach, we always had these 3 Ds that spoke about discipline, determination, and dedication, what was needed. And I tried to latch onto that when I was weighing at 108 kilograms. I started with intermittent fasting. In May,
Yeah.
I set out a target to be around about 90 kgs in September of last year. But when I got closer to August, I was already on 90. And through me joining Edge Meet Running Club, that also assisted me in setting out certain goals, be it a 10K, be it a half marathon, be it a marathon that I was actually identifying to do, and actually culminating now recently with me completing the Comrades on the 8th of June this year. So it's been a bit of a journey up and down in terms of, professionally as well as from I would say, especially, I had actually a talk last night at the club where we spoke about having a proper mindset and a certain drive. Because when you finding yourself having to run 90 kilometers, you end up talking to yourself, you end up talking to God, you end up talking to, any old person that you're getting along the way, just to kind
Yeah.
of will yourself on to complete this mammoth task. And I attribute a lot of that to what I've been exposed to. You have to be mentally sound. I think you have to be spiritually also in it, and then of course the physical aspect is very
Yeah.
important. So that's just a bit about me and what has happened. But we can talk more on that. I think we need to also hear from Russell and Mike as well. I don't want to hog up all of this time. I see I've been talking for about 7 minutes. Apologies, guys.
Thanks, Carlo. If you just tuned in, good evening. Welcome. You're welcome to drop your comments on Facebook, YouTube, or Insta, as Mark has done. Mark Barnes has said to Carlo, well done, cousin.
Yeah, that's
Clearly, it's been
my
quite a good
cousin
journey.
Mark.
Yeah. Um, and you're welcome to share your comments and ask any questions. Carlo, I'm going to park some questions because I have some questions for you. Mike, from your perspective, good evening. I see you got a Race to Hermanas shirt on there, which is a triathlon that happened not too long ago. Tell us a bit about you there, Mike.
Thank you, Alton. It's really amazing to be with this distinguished group tonight. So, summary is at school, I was absolutely passionate about sport. The fact that I did anything else academic was purely on the side. But I was really there to play sport as far as I was concerned. And in high school, I was playing 5 first team sports. And coming to university, I had to tone that down to 2. Did a BCom and focused on industrial psychology, and then went into business for just over 10 years in 5 different organizations within the Barlow Group, and was an HR director for quite a number of years in that season. And really my focus was leadership, learning to empower people to reach their true passion, potential, and purpose in whatever area of leadership they were focusing on. So it was all about business in that first 10 years. And then in the second similar season, I was in ministry and also doing a lot of empowering teams to go into Africa. And in that season, it was really far more about raising leaders and empowering people to their true understanding of their spiritual potential, their spiritual call and destiny. And then in 2007, I realized that God was launching me into a whole new season completely. And so through Regent University and Transformational Leadership Coaching International, I then qualified over a 4-year period to be a fully internationally certified professional coach, including leadership coach, a life coach, and business coach. And so since 2007, I have focused entirely on leaders across the subcontinent and in many countries around the world. And since 2016, my focus has been on entrepreneurs and organizational heads. So I literally spend day and night whenever, because depending on what part of the world I'm coaching in, I'm basically spending 90% of my time working with leaders of organizations and potential leaders of organizations. And then there are other opportunities that arise are really exciting when I'm coaching a whole board of directors. One of the very exciting things that happened recently is that I coached for a number of days. I coached all the executives from 14 central banks in Africa. Another one of the exciting things was I was a speaker at the Global Leadership Summit in Malawi, which is effectively has 1,000 CEOs from around the nation and beyond. And also, I can't tell you which country, but I've coached a president and in a small, intimate setting in his office, and it's just incredible how God takes one from season to season to season, and really we don't realize how much potential and purpose is locked up in us until we get that revealed. And so my encouragement to everybody would be to take some time and really get some help in terms of finding out your true potential and your true purpose. As a result of that, and various other sporting things that I've done in the last few years, I was challenged by one of my clients, funny enough, who then coached me into participating in these triathlons. And I'm excited to say that I did the Cape Series and got the Cape Series medal, as well as the 3 from Hermanus to Cape Town from Langebaan to Cape Town to Hermanus over the first half of this year. And I'm now just challenged myself. If you're asking me what's my latest, I've just challenged myself to do a triathlon basically once a month if there's nothing on the calendar. So that's my latest goal. And then I'm effectively preparing for that pretty much 6 days a week.
Wow. Over and above everything else, that's a commitment there, Mike. A massive commitment. Well done.
Yeah.
And we'll unpack some of that, because some of the things that you're saying is overlapping with what Carlo has spoken about, and we'll get to some of that. Russell, it's been a while since you and I had a conversation. How are you, my good man?
Hey, Alton, I'm very well. Just a little bit chilly around the gills, but happy I'm not a seagull or a duck. I don't want to be out there in the cold and miserable weather at the moment.
The typical seafarer would make that analogy, Russell. Typical seafarer.
Well,
tell us a bit about you.
You know the secret of a yacht? You keep the wood on the outside and you keep it dry on the inside. So, yeah. Yeah, Alton, again, thanks a million for inviting me to come and share a story with you guys. And as I say, that winter is not my favorite season, so I'm happy we didn't have to get into a car and drive out to your studios or anything. But yeah, a bit of a tale about me. For those who don't know me, I'm actually a quadriplegic. I sit in a wheelchair. I've been almost 50 years in a wheelchair. I broke my neck in a diving accident going to rescue somebody's boat in 1976 at Sunflay. And at that time, I was a young sprog doing some national service in the Navy. And one of my sports was sailing. Unfortunately, you break your neck, people think you can't do anything. And it took me out of sailing for a while. I got into the corporate world, got into a company, and eventually went into IT and ended up running an IT division. But all along behind the scenes, there was always yachting involved. But my initial sports, when I ended up in a wheelchair, at school I was a hockey player and a cricketer, and I played rugby until somebody tried to break my nose. And I found hockey better because you had a stick and you could injure people with that. But jokes aside, I've always been a very keen sportsman and I thoroughly loved it. And when I was in a wheelchair, sport was kind of difficult until one day somebody said to me, come play table tennis. So I went and I played table tennis. And when I was at school, I was also quite a good swimmer. So I went into swimming and I got Western Province colors for table tennis and swimming back in the early 80s. And sailing being my passion, just drifted along for a little while. Just seen Wenzel's name there. Wenzel and I had...
Wenzel says it was a competition for you, Russell.
Yeah, we had friendly rivalry in the swimming pool, yeah. But bottom line is that sailing was never far from my mind. And in the late 80s, my dad and we ventured into purchasing a keelboat, which is still down at Royal Cape Yacht Club, and I got back into sailing. And people are always amazed at seeing a person in a wheelchair go sailing, and yachts are not conducive to wheelchairs. So when I get on my boat, I don't use my wheelchair unless I need to go down below. And with that, my sailing journey started again with the yacht called Chen at Royal Cape, and it's taken me many, many places. In the late 1990s, mates and myself decided we wanted to do the Cape to Rio yacht race. So we put a campaign together and we did the Cape to Rio yacht race. And when I came back from Rio in 2000, January, there was a message on my answering machine from Alison Birchall saying, Russell, are you interested in a thing called the Paralympics? And she was aware of the fact that my sailing had taken me overseas to do a bit of competitive sailing overseas as a person with a disability and sailing for people with disabilities. And I said, well, what a silly fool I would be if I didn't accept. And as a result of that, I participated in the Paralympics in Sydney in 2000, sailing a funny little boat called a 2.4 MR. And it's a single-seater boat, which basically just your head sticks above the deck. And that was great fun, and it's really taken me many, many places. As a result, I've got involved in sailing for people with disabilities. And we've got a brilliant boat which is designed here in South Africa, albeit by a Dutch design company, but it's a SV14, which is very specifically designed for people with disabilities to sail. And I've sailed the boats in Thailand. I've been to the factory in China where it's built, and it's the SV40. It's a brilliant little boat. But aside from that, I've also been very involved in the organizational side of sailing, from being involved in SA Sailing itself at a national level. And then, as you know, Elton, through the Cape Town district representing sailing. And I've always found my sailing very, very interesting because, albeit me being a person with a disability and in a wheelchair, all my sailing, well, the greater part of my sailing has been in the able-bodied world. Sailing doesn't create barriers, it doesn't segregate you, and I've been accepted into the able-bodied world of sailing, and my team and my boat, we win and lose on our ability as sailors, not because I have a disability and I have a performance handicap which gives me an advantage. So yeah, sailing has taken me places. It's led me into many, many rabbit holes of politics around sport. But at the end of the day, I've loved my sailing and I still do. And I look forward to inviting other folk come and join me as well.
Russell, thank you. I mean, it's interesting that people judge you based on your physical appearance. that you can't sell because you're in a wheelchair. And you and many others have disproved that theory over and over. So well done to breaking those barriers. And even when I come to Royal Cape and we have a conversation, you move around there like it's nothing, and people have accepted you as being in a wheelchair. That even though you're in a yacht club, doesn't exempt you from being a member or even being a commodore for that matter. So well done to you and the team.
Thank you very much, Elton. In fact, I think one of the biggest compliment folk like you pay me as a person with a disability is when you see me, not my disability. And I really admire my friends. And I count you as one of those big mates of mine who sees me, not my disability.
Thanks, Russell. Guys, I'm going to. Schumacher says, Russell, I remember meeting you. Where is it? I remember meeting you in 1978 after doing naval basics with your brother Sean. You had inspiration.
Wow.
And that's the point of the show, is that we as ordinary folk don't realize the impact that we have on other people's lives just by existing, just by going about doing our day-to-day activity. We've got our own goals, we've got our own challenges, and yet, as an example, Russell, you've now inspired him. Carlo's inspired everybody else in his club to go and do it, to the point that they invited him to do the talk. Mike, from your perspective, to go and do all 3 triathlons in one season, as I say in Afrikaans, dat wil gedoen wees. Because many people think that triathlon is hard work, which it is. So my question to each of you is, how committed and what is the process for each of you to get to a competition in 3 minutes? Because all of you are competitive in your own spirit, in your own sport. Carlo, you've got the running and the football component to think about, and how that has played into shaping how you prepared for Comrades. Mike, from your perspective, coming out of the business space, preparing against all the challenges to prepare for the 3 triathlons and even now for the new one. Russell, from your perspective, how do we get the SV14 out into the market, and how do we make that a competitive edge to get people with disability onto the water? Any one of you can go with that question. Anyone first? You got 3 minutes, each of you.
Well, I would say that the most critical component of any preparation in any strategic goal, whether it's sport, but let's talk sport, would be support, encouragement, and accountability. You will always achieve far more. And myself as a top coach, unless can be humble enough and so to submit to a coach in all 3 disciplines and one from a triathlon perspective, I'm not going to go close to my true potential. So that for me is the number one answer. I can go broader, but maybe each of us can have a stab first.
Yeah. Russell, go.
Mike, I love your thing about support. And to me, my motivation is to show others what you can do, what they can do irrespective of their ability, and the support that everybody around us give us, encourage us to do our sports and to achieve. And the preparation is not about the work that you have to do, because that comes naturally. When you love something, you do it without feeling the pain. And to prove a point and to say, look, I don't have barriers, I'm just going for it.
Absolutely. Carlo, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think what Russell actually touched on now about proving a point, I don't think it is to prove a point to anyone else when you are in that mindset. It's basically proving to yourself that you can push certain boundaries. As much as there could be support, there also could be certain people whispering and not being supportive, being a bit negative, being a bit, kind of putting you in a space where where doubt can come into your order or into your bubble. And as soon as you start doubting yourself, a lot of things could come up. So I'm more of, putting positive things out there, being in the right mindset, whether or not I'm going to be getting the support or not. It needs to be me at the end of the day that has belief in myself to actually push certain boundaries, to attain certain things. Because let's just use the Comrades as an example. Look, we've got Russell also here, with him being a paraplegic for, I don't know, since I forgot,
76.
1976. So it takes a really self-belief in yourself to be able to say that you can push yourself to do certain things, because you're going to get people looking at you and saying, you didn't run a Comrades. How do you think you can do a Comrades within this short period of time? How do you feel that you can sell? So if you get that negativity floating around and you allow that negativity to come inside of your bubble, that is something that, to me, I always try to get all that negativity away. You have to believe in yourself. You have to push yourself. You need to set certain goals and know how to attain and achieve those goals, regardless of what noise you're hearing around you.
I hear you, Carlo. But on the converse is some people believe that having that negative noise is what spurs them on, because they have a drive to prove something. So it's a two-way
Yeah,
conversation.
I totally get that. And you get certain people that are driven by wanting to prove, but like I'm saying, that belief, because if I did not believe when I was taking a shot that I was going to score this goal, then it might not have transpired. If I didn't have the belief, firstly, in myself to be able to do something, because it's always going to be noise. As much as you try to
Yeah.
prove people wrong, rather not try to prove people wrong, rather try to prove yourself right, that you are able to do and achieve certain things.
I like that. Prove myself right and stick to my goals. Mike, you touched on accountability. Coming back to what Carlo was saying, prove myself right. How important is accountability in what you do and how we manage ourselves? Taking into account your life coaching and preparation into an event.
In every single sphere of coaching. And even for the people out there who don't yet have a coach, unless you're going to get yourself support, encouragement, and all three. If any one of those three is missing, you cannot really call it coaching in the fullest of senses. It's going to fall short. So find a way to get yourself support, encouragement, accountability. In our context here in this part of the world, people are not that familiar with true accountability, except in the sporting arena. A lot of people out there in life, leaders who want to get into sport maybe, are listening here tonight, and I've been a bit shy of accountability. I've had experience quite often of guys who want coaching, but they're not sure that they want accountability. That's just not going to work. So I never try and, for example, I will never try and persuade somebody to get coaching. I will rather measure their passion and their hunger for growth. And anybody who's got a passion and a hunger for growth will be much more open to all three dimensions, and in particular, the accountability. But then the issue arises is people shy away from accountability because of unhealthy accountability, maybe experience at school or teachers or parents or others. And so unhealthy accountability has caused people to shy away and therefore not get close to their true potential. So my encouragement would be, just because you've had a toxic relationship, bad experiences, don't shy away. Go find that healthy accountability. And no matter how much you might be failing out there, whoever's listening, no matter how much you might be failing, as long as you're engaging with healthy accountability, you will grow in small bites. One, how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. As long as you're growing every single day of your life, you're going to move from good to great in whatever arena you're in. And
yeah, I spot on, and I'm gonna pause you there, Mike. Russell, from your perspective, let's talk about from support. So we've touched on goal setting, we touched on belief, Carlo spoke about encouragement. Micah spoke about accountability. Support for you as a paraplegic coming into a sailing space, and even just physically getting you onto the vessel and hooking you up and making sure that you're safe, because you don't have that ability to be moving around once you're skippering. How do you find that? Are you able to allow people firstly to help you, because that is a big challenge many of us face in life, is that to Carlos' point, we think we know everything and we want to do it ourselves. How do you manage that?
Elton, one of the most important things is for you to recognize that your personal space has to be open to people to come into it to help you achieve. And for me, my achievements have all been based on my mates sharing with me my journey that I would like to achieve. And with that, I've had to allow them into my personal space to physically help me do things. I can go up Mount Kilimanjaro. A couple of folk have done it. If I wanted to, I could climb Table Mountain. I just had to find the right mates and friends to give me that physical support that I cannot do. So where I cannot walk, they walk with me and for me and carry me. And that's where, when somebody said to me one day, you go sailing, have you modified your boat to accommodate you? And I looked at them, I said, like, no, because I'm the only one with the disability. My boat has to work for the rest of them. I'm sitting there, I'm driving the boat, I'm the skipper, I'm making some serious calls, but each person has a role. And there's only certain times when I need physical interaction with a mate to help. That's on and off the boat. And then if we overnight at Daston or something, getting down into my bunk. But for the rest of it, it's about them wanting to be part of my journey and helping me achieve my goals by being a mate and believing in the goals that I'm setting for myself as being achievable, where they just that support structure that gives me that little edge up. And Dries Millard actually commented recently on Facebook. He was very upset about this pity mode. And for me, one of the things that's been very, very important in my life as a person with a disability, all my journey, is that when people look at me with my disability and go, oh, shame, I feel sorry for them, because if I look at what I've achieved in my life, many of them will never come close to it. And in fact, had I not ended up in a wheelchair, I possibly wouldn't have achieved 90% of what I have done, because I think when I was able, I was kind of lazy. And, what came along, where suddenly with my disability, I challenged myself. And with that, I invite people to come onto my journey with me and to help me achieve my goals. So when I use the word support, it's not about them taking over from me. It's about them standing alongside me and helping me move forward in the areas where I need that help. But then I guide as well, and I lead. So
absolutely. I'm going to park you there, Russell. Let me get to one or two comments on Facebook. Sandra says, very inspiring story. Well done, gents. Shawnee says, well done, Russell. Sandra says, well done, Carlo, on completing Comrades. David Malilo says, well done, Scotty. So my question to each of you now is, having listened to all of you, you all speak about support. You all speak about having a network around you. How important is having the right people around you? Because you can have, to your point, Carlo, to your point, Russell, and Mike, you can have a million people around you, but if they're not there to help you through and support you, it's meaningless. Carlo, from your perspective, I want you to explain to us very briefly what it's like being in a pro setup. Would you have around you to support you off the field? Because often people don't see that. We don't see what happens behind closed doors. You only see you running onto the field. Mike, from your perspective, how do we engage people to support us using your life coaching skills, how do we get people to help us as athletes to do that? Russell, from your perspective, I look at the yacht club. Everybody is rallying around, not only you but all the sailors, and you guys do amazing projects there. How do we get more people to buy into what we do? Because in various spaces, we always need to get people to buy into what we do to support us. Let's go. So they will come. Okay, Carlo, let's go.
Okay, can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a bit fortunate in terms of my upbringing because I always had my parents that were very supportive of me in doing certain things. There was of course mates that I had, but essentially when you leave Cape Town and you end up going to Joburg, one of the reasons for me also joining Sundowns at the time was that there was certain familiar faces that I've played with as well. Matthew Booth was there, Alton late Alton Maiding that passed now recently. He was also in that setup as well. So when you at training and you are going through certain drills and you're preparing for games, you latch on to people that are familiar to you, and also you tend to look at certain mentors. But after certain games, I would have to get on the phone, call up my dad, speak about the game. My brothers also, he was also ventured into the professional sport as well. So I could talk with Romano, but it's also just engaging with your fellow colleagues that you actually engaging with fellow professionals, people that have done it. I look at when I was at Ajax, Brendan Augenstein, he actually had a very pivotal role in terms of what I needed to do. Bennett Masinga, we look at Daniel Madao when I was at Sundowns as well. So you have to look at these inspirational people that have been doing it for a very long time to kind of guide you and to impart some of the knowledge that they knew and what they've experienced over the years of playing. My dad was a Saru rugby player, so I could latch on to certain things in terms of what to expect and how to handle myself being on the field, how to handle disappointment, getting over certain hurdles. So that was really pivotal for myself, and then just engaging with fellow teammates within the team.
Okay, a great answer. Russell, and then we'll come to Mike. Russell, from your perspective, how do we get more people to support you and the things that happens at Royal Cape, as an example? What were the strategies you employed?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the family model, because I really found that my parents were very strong in guiding me through my initial stage of my accident. And my dad very much told me that I must prepare my life for when he's not around. And therefore, I needed to build the tools. And the tools were talking to people and getting them to come and help me. So now when it comes to particularly like the SV14 campaign now, which we are trying to really get flying high in South Africa so we can have international events, is that we look at people and say, would you like to volunteer? And many people say yes. Unfortunately, the South African word for volunteer is not as well recognized as it is in the rest of the world. So there's few challenges there. But it's about them looking at what you're trying to achieve, and they want to be part of that journey and also the success that you lead. And it's your example. And to me, everybody who's been involved with me along the way has obviously believed that what I'm trying to do is worthy of support. So that is number one. And the other one is also to look at the resources that are out there. And Elton, you're a member of Lions, and through my father, I have exposure to Rotary. And these are organizations as well, where there's a lot of willing people who can come along, and with their encouragement and their support, they can then help you build that structure that's going to give you the tools to deliver. And for example, if I want to go sailing on my own, I can't. So I need at least 3 people to join me. somebody to launch the boat, a couple of people to help me get in and out of the boat. And then, particularly when I sail my big boat, I need a crew of four or more people, because I can't run around the deck. They've got to do it. So it's about them all liking what I do, but also you've got to find the people who actually like the game you're playing. And, you know, Carlo, as you just mentioned, soccer players, you guys all hang together because you love the game of soccer. And I've got that same around the yacht club. Everybody who loves yachting, say to some people, come, let's go and do SV14. Yeah, the boys will be there. I haven't been motivated just the last couple of months because just with a little bit of medical issues and that, so you have to look after your health as well. And that's kind of important because if your health fails, you fail in a lot of situations. But at the end of the day, I want to be ready for the next sailing season, and the SV14, we want to have an international event. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me, and I've got to motivate a lot of people to want to come and join my journey.
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. It's getting people to hold your hands and get you there. Mike, from your perspective, how do we coerce people to do what Russell and Carlo are saying? Is help us along the journey, because that often is the biggest challenge we face.
It's a very lovely word you use, coerce. I would put it a little differently. I think I have a favorite saying, which is very much in the greatest book. Write down the vision, make it plain, communicate it so that those who hear will follow. And I think that's absolutely key, that you want to be partnering with the coaches that see the value in partnering with you. So there needs to be a benefit both sides. While you were busy talking, I don't know why, but I thought of Emma and Carlos, who are now suddenly very, very popular in the media and seeking each other out to support each other in the US mixed. But so my parents both played for South Africa. My sister currently plays for South Africa in her age group. And they've all played a very pivotal role in my life in the early days, helping me to get on the right journey and getting the right people around me. In more recent times, I've had in the skiing arena, but I had access to the Springbok coach. In the soccer arena, I had a German coach, and in the tennis arena, I had a Yugoslavian, and so it goes on. But you need to get there, the people that will really passionately want to be with you, that it's not a transaction, it's not a financial transaction only, it's far more of a passion and a real heart connection. I think that's the shortest and the most significant answer I can give you.
Sure. And that is where it's at. It's people must bleed with you. They must feel that hardship with you and be able to hold your hand. And Carlo at 78 kilometers, run that 500 meters and cheer you on in the Comrades Marathon and say, "You got this, Scotty. Let's get to the finish line." And I think what? That, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking now of you mentioning, certain distances, because when at certain distances, and I know David was on the line now earlier, there would be also comments to say, I'm going to get you at that particular distance, but I kept on telling him that if you're going to catch me, you're not going anywhere. So I had to make sure that I was going to finish before him, because there was no way that I was going to allow the next person to actually catch up with me. So, it's subtle things that he said that kind of pushes you to actually put in that effort to ensure that you can complete this, like I said, it was quite a mammoth task for me. It's so mammoth that I'm going to be doing it next year again. But
yes.
Really, you just finding yourself and willing yourself through that. The support is amazing. Be it that you've got family, friends, the seconding along the route is vitally important. I look at even Gerda, and I know that I met her the day after, because they normally have this bus stop at the place called the George in Umhlanga, and her husband plays such a pivotal role in actually getting her on certain points, and what is required at certain landmarks or certain. I saw even a program to where she had to say right hand this bottle, left hand this bottle at that kilometer, and it's quite a lot of work that gets put into it. I know that Duncan was a pilot. He's actually left his job and he's actually supporting like full time now. So it's great to have that type of support around you. I don't think that you can discredit or discard that amount of support, especially on these type of things or this journey that you actually are willing yourself to do.
Absolutely, Carlo. To the point that Mike is committed to doing Comrades next year. When I chatted to him, right, Mike?
We will talk about this. I need the next level of coaching.
I said we'll have that conversation.
Yes.
Elton, I'll pass on that one. Okay.
No. You can go in the wheelchair. We can push you. There's the Kaylee campaign. They have wheelchairs and people push them, Russell. So there's no excuse. You can also be a Comrades finisher.
Yeah, I must confess, I wouldn't like to be pushed in the Comrades, because one of my friends is Ernst van Dijk from Paralympic sport, and when you've met Ernst and you've seen his ability in a wheelchair and pushing a marathon, I don't know what, 9, 10 Boston marathons and many others. Yeah, I admire them, and I'd rather aspire to one of those achievements rather than being pushed.
And
it's just a quick comment is when about a year ago, I was challenged to do a try, and my answer was absolutely no, because I had done one 10 years ago and nearly died in the water. So I made it very clear that it's never going to happen. But I secretly went to go and practice. And the day before the registration, I realized I won't die. And so I registered.
and you're here to tell us to tell and sign up for the next 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we almost coming to the end. My question to each of you then is, what keeps you coming back? Why are you continuing? Carlo, if I look at your journey, you were a pro footballer. You stopped. You retired in inverted commas. You then started a life in work, and was it the health conditions that kicked you back into it? Number one, from that perspective, and what is now keeping you going? So park that, Mike. From your perspective, coming back out of 10 years of just taking over to going back into racing in inverted commas, coming back into triathlon, be it your first one on a borrowed bike. I remember you and I having a conversation about what size, where can I get the bike, and how soon I can get the bike to use for next weekend's race. So from that perspective, I remember that conversation clearly. So what kept you? What kicked you into that space? Number one, and then why are you continuing doing this? Russell, from your perspective, you've got a long history back into sailing. Why do you keep coming back? Because you could quit quite easily. You've had now a health scare. You still want to come back and launch the SV14, which is going to revolutionize, I think, the disability sailing space in the country. What's driving you guys? I can't seem to understand it. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Elton, I know you posed the question to me first, so let me go first. So, no, apart from the health concerns that I had, it's basically an inherent drive that I have within myself, and I think that inherent drive was always there. Maybe it was just a bit hibernating through a certain period of time. And then once you set your mind to doing certain things, be it for your health or just, getting fit, that drive has sustained me and pushed me to want to achieve and do better, not only in, this running that I'm doing now currently, but in work, in different aspects. I've I had to go back to go and study after football, and having to go to class, part-time classes. You have to have that internal, they said that internal locus of control that you have to have and push it out there. This is psychology talk I'm talking here, Mike. so in essence, for me, it's just that inherent drive and being able to latch onto those things that were implanted in you and you were trained into a certain way of doing things. Like I said, there's a lot of determination, dedication, and discipline. I spoke about the 5 P's yesterday. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So you have to plan accordingly to achieve or attain certain goals that you set out for yourself. That's my answer to the question that you posed.
Sure. Proper planning prevents poor performance. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
correct.
that.
5 Ps.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Mike, from your perspective, why are you bouncing back into this multidisciplinary fun and games amongst all your life?
I've got an ultimate life goal, which I'll close with. But the real answer to your question is, I was challenged by somebody who had no idea about my potential, funny enough, and out of the blue told me, because they happen to be a swimmer that goes to Robben Island, and so my answer to them was no, and then of course I did it after discovering that my potential was higher than I thought. But as you were speaking about it, well, the answer that came to me was that every single try, I have improved the times on each of the different legs. And that is exceptionally motivating. Except when I had a puncture on the back wheel, which was unfortunate. In all other respects, the more I put in, the more I got out. My ultimate goal, okay, before I go there, because I'll close with that, my journey with leaders in all spheres of life has been to help people determine goals that they didn't formally believe that it was possible for them to do, but in the area of personal growth, family growth, business growth, and career growth, and sports growth, to be able to, through powerful questions, come to an understanding of your true potential, and then set the goals and journey. And the coaching will actually guarantee to get you success, because coaching is not about discipline. Coaching is about growth, and then seeing how you can improve growth, seeing how you can improve it, grow, etc. Feedback loops. My closing comment is that at the end of my life, which I trust will be at 100, I want to die healthy, superbly healthy.
And I'm reading this book about longevity by Dr. Peter Attia, and he says, as much as we try and want to live a healthy life, we still need to have a life full of love and people surround us, because you can live until 100, Mike, and be healthy and have nobody around you. Is that a healthy life? No. So from that perspective, we need to lead a well balanced life. Russell, from your perspective, why do
I come back, and why am I still doing it? Two things, really. One is I want people to get the same adrenaline rush that made me keep going at what I love doing and sailing. It's such an invigorating and a challenging sport. Many people, I remember at the Paralympics, Ernst van Dijk coming up to me one day and saying, Russell, but you're just sailing around. I said, yeah, well, we sail every second day. The race is about a 2 nautical mile distance, and we do 2 a day, 2 races in a day, then a day off. And he went like, Yeah, but I'm only doing the marathon and I only do one. And I'm here for the whole sort of Olympics and that. And I
Yeah.
went like, yeah, well, he says, you almost doing like a marathon twice in one day. And I said, well, that's what sailing's all about. So crossing an ocean's more than just a marathon. It's a complete journey of note. So I keep coming back because I want people to enjoy exactly what made me enjoy sailing, and that's that stimulation, that adrenaline rush you get from when the wind picks up and the boat starts going crazy, and it becomes a bit of survival. And the other one is unfinished business. I still want to do another Cape to Rio yacht race because we didn't finish the Rio yacht race in time.
Yeah.
We were outside the cutoff. So we got from Cape Town to Rio, but we missed the prize giving. So I have to do another one. And why do I come back? Because I've got a bunch of mates and friends and people that would like to join me and to do it. So I'm looking forward to my next one.
Russell Carlo says he's feeling inspired to do to take up sailing and to do triathlon with you, Mike. So we've got we've got a team to go on a SV14. Russell,
you there, my brother? You can come and join us anytime. We'll make it happen, mate.
We'll make it happen. Definitely.
Because going out on the guys, for you to not being on these vessels, woo, it's rough sometimes.
You should be encouraging us to go on it and not saying how rough it is.
No. Let me finish. I said it's rough and so much fun. It's make sure you have gloves because when you pull those ropes, whoo, your hands take a pounding. But
your hands take a pounding.
Absolute great fun. Yeah. So in closing, James, I'm going to ask each of you to round up and remind us again about how exciting sport is for you and why you would recommend anybody who's watching to do sport and how it has changed your life. I'll give each of you 3 minutes as your closing comments. Anyone can go. No rush.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, sport has been so vital in my journey. It's opened up so many doors, exposed me to so many wonderful opportunities. And as I said earlier on, I've done things that I would never have done had I not had my accident, ended up in a wheelchair. But it was sport that actually opened those doors, from my swimming to my table tennis to my sailing. And at the end of the day, sport is you don't do it in isolation. You do it, you have a competitor, you're competing against somebody, you're trying to be better than them, but then you also become part of a team in so many instances. And that team feeling, that partnership, that brotherhood, that relationship you establish with your mates in that team helps you go forward, and it gives you a great quality of life. And when you are down, they pick you up. And when one of your mates is down, you pick them up. And with that comes reward. And that reward gives you the lust to continue that journey into life. And as Mike was referring to live a long and healthy life.
Sure. The lust to continue. I like that. I've not heard it put like quite like that, Russell.
Passion.
Absolutely. Passion equals purpose. Unless we have the passion, it won't drive us. Carlo, from your perspective, why are you wanting to go back go to Durban and Pietermaritzburg for a back-to-back, my friend? Let's keep it simple. What's driving you to do another Comrade?
There's nothing like getting up, exposing your body or putting your body through certain things that you're testing your body. And for me, when I wake up and I exert myself to certain degrees of exhaustion, there is fun in it. There is a purpose in it because you are getting healthier in terms of the way that you are living and what you're doing. But for me, it is about camaraderie, not only amongst fellow runners or just people in general that are taking up sport. Sport has been part of my life since I was a little kid, and I don't think that it will evade or leave me till in my old age.
Awesome. Because sport is about giving us the opportunity to remain healthy and to remain committed to people in all aspects of what we do. 100%. Mike, from your perspective, closing comments? Why are you still doing this? Your hectic schedule?
Well, just one reflection on at school, I found sport gave me so much more to life than 90% of the people out there. I just felt so much stronger as an individual. In the business world was the same thing. It was my saving grace. In my coaching career now in the last 15 years, I find that while I'm the one getting all the benefit out of the performances and the tries, the reality is that I'm finding every single one of my clients are being challenged to levels that I've never seen them being challenged before. Some of these guys I've been coaching since 2016, every single month, great business owners. And in this last year, their level of challenge has gone to amazing heights. One guy in a wheelchair since 2015, but the exceptional impact that I'm having unintended through the sport is just so fulfilling.
Absolutely. And like I said at the outset, we don't realize the impact that we have on other people purely by doing what we do because we love it. Because we have that passion, because we have that purpose to go and enjoy ourselves, as Carlo put it, to go and push our bodies, to have an accountability partner, Mike, for having someone to be inclusive, Russell, to pull people together. That's what sport does. And we don't realize that impact is what carries us and gets people to rally around us and support us in the tough times. Gentlemen, it's been an honor. Thank you for being here. Everybody else that's joined in on Facebook, YouTube, and Insta, it's been an honor to have you part of it and to share in the conversation. Thank you. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, with some more dynamic people who will come and tell their stories. If you'd like to feature or let me know if you know of anybody who'd like to share their story, inbox me and I'm happy to have the conversation, and we can schedule them in the upcoming weeks. Until then, until next week, can the three of you just remain there. Have a good week. Stay safe if you're in South Africa, and more particularly in Cape Town and the Northern Cape. Stay warm. Ciao for now.
Cheers, everybody.